Imagine if Carrie had a baby with Lord of the Flies, then abandoned that child at a 2003 summer camp for all boys water polo. That is the DNA of Charlie Polinger's The Plague. It is a film that weaponizes the nostalgia of the early 2000s, the baggy shorts, the new metal angst, the pre-smartphone isolation, and curdles it into something deeply suffocating. This isn't your standard slasher or jump scare factory. It's a psychological coming-of-age thriller that treats social stigma like a literal infectious disease. The aesthetic is drenched in a specific kind of chlorine-stained grit. The cinematography is top-notch, capturing the shimmering, deceptive beauty of the pool against the sweat-slicked, claustrophobic locker rooms where the real damage begins. It's accompanied by a score that I can only describe as ominous yelping. Long, sustained notes and vocalizations that sound like a panic attack put to music. It's uncomfortable. It's visceral. It's one of the most sobering looks at the hierarchy of youth I've seen in years. We're going to look at why this film works, who it's actually for, and if it's worth the emotional toll of the rental price, all without ruining a single beat of the third act. The year is 2003. We follow Ben, played with a quiet, vibrating anxiety by Everett Blunck. Ben is a kid just trying to survive the ecosystem of an elite water polo camp. A place where masculinity isn't just performed, it's enforced. At the top of the food chain is Daddy Wags, the coach played by Joel Edgerton. Edgerton is a master of doing a lot with a little. He doesn't need much screen time to establish a cult of personality environment where the weak are seen as a biological threat to the strong. The catalyst of the film's spiraling tension is Eli. Eli is a student on the spectrum, and Kenny Rasmussen's portrayal is hauntingly accurate. He is the immediate target for the camp's plague, a metaphor for the way group mentality identifies and seeks to purge anyone who doesn't fit the mold. As the bullying escalates from cruel pranks to ritualistic psychological torment, Ben finds himself caught between his own empathy and the desperate, dark desire to fit in. The stakes aren't just about winning a game, they're about the physical manifestation of anxiety. The plague begins to feel less like a metaphor, more like an impending disaster. We watch Jake, played by Kayo Martin, in what I'd argue is the standout performance of the film, navigate the social minefield with a terrifying level of charisma and cruelty. The conflict hinges on a single question. At what point does the pressure to belong turn a person into a monster? As Eli begins to retreat into himself, you realize he's heading toward a private Pyle breaking point. The tension isn't if something will snap, it's how many people will be standing when it does. If you're looking for the heartbeat of the film, it's in the performances. Kayo Martin as Jake is frankly a revelation. He captures that specific, terrifying brand of teenage charisma. The kind of kid who can make you feel like the center of the world one second and a total pariah in the next. There's a scene early on in a communal shower where Jake is just staring, not saying a word, just leaning against the tile, but you can feel the entire power dynamic of the room shift toward him. It's a performance that doesn't rely on shouting, it relies on the absolute certainty of his own social dominance. Then there is Eli. Kenny Rasmussen gives what I believe is the most accurate and sobering portrayal of a neurodivergent student I've ever seen on film. He isn't a caricature, he's a kid who is clearly processing the world on a different frequency. And the movie doesn't shy away from how isolating that is. Rasmussen uses his eyes, these dark, brooding pits, to convey a wisdom that feels ancient and eerie. There's a moment where he's forced to participate in a team building drill. The way he affects these strange guttural voices to cope with the stress. You get a feeling he's like heading down this private Pyle path from Full Metal Jacket, and the movie makes you feel every inch of that descent. Joel Edgerton as Daddy Wags, he represents the institutionalized version of this toxicity. He isn't twirling a mustache, he's just a guy who believes that iron sharpens iron, oblivious or perhaps sort of indifferent to the fact that he's actually just grinding these boys into dust. But he also tries to help. There is a sort of empathy to his character, although the way he goes about it is kind of impotent. Visually, The Plague is stunning in a way that feels heavy. The cinematography by Polinger's team avoids the clean look of modern digital films. It Feels tactile, like you could catch a scent of stale pool water and old gym socks just by watching it. The 2003 setting is handled with surgical precision, not through member berries or like pop culture references, but through the lighting and the oppressive nature of the locations. It's got extraordinary sound design. I mentioned the ominous yelping earlier, and I wasn't joking. Instead of a traditional orchestral swell, the music uses human voices held in long, agonizing notes. It sounds like a primal scream that's being stifled. Is it a wild ride? No, it's a slow motion train wreck. The pacing is deliberate, meant to mimic the way a plague or a rumor spreads, quietly at first, but then all at once. It might feel slow to people who need a jump scare every 10 minutes. But for those who appreciate a building sense of psychological dread, it's perfect. It's a movie that hinges on your own past experiences. If you were ever a kid on the outside looking in, or even the kid who stayed silent while someone else was targeted, this movie is going to trigger a very specific, very real kind of anxiety. Now, I promise no spoilers, and I'm sticking to that, but I have to talk about the final act's intent. The movie builds toward this shocking climax that is very much up for interpretation. I found the very last scene felt a tad bit undercooked, like it needed just one more minute to breathe. The emotional impact is undeniable. It asks you to decide if the plague we've been watching is a social phenomenon or something much more literal and internal. You'll know exactly what I mean when the screen finally goes black. I'm giving The Plague a 4 out of 5. It's a depressing, visceral, incredibly real portrayal of the cruelty of adolescence. It's not a fun watch, but it is an essential one for fans of elevated genre cinema. It takes the bones of Lord of the Flies and gives them a contemporary psychological meat that is hard to shake off. If you appreciate top-tier cinematography, haunting soundscapes, and performances that feel uncomfortably real, you need to see this. Just be prepared to feel like you need a long, hot shower after washing off that grime. But did you see The Plague? What did you think of it? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you want to support the channel and help it grow, hit that join button and join our 99-cent membership tier. If you want to get into spoilers about The Plague, I have an ending explained here by my head, and I'll see you later.